Okay, thank you. So today we're going to be looking at the evidence for God. And there's a really beautiful scripture that says, God says, "Come, let us reason together. And though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow." And so God wants us to use our reason and our intellect to be able to see out there what is the evidence for God. And when you actually look at it, it's quite wonderful to see. So let's look at now at the heavens. Okay, we can see the sun, the moon, and the earth, and they show us the nature of God. So one of the things that we see here is that Earth is exactly the right distance from the sun at around 160 million kilometers. Sunlight gives usable energy to organisms through photosynthesis. Earth has liquid water that exists on Earth in all phases so that life on Earth is made possible. The moon and the sun appear the same size because although the moon is 1/400th the size of the sun, it is also 400 times closer than the sun. So they appear as the same size from Earth's perspective. The moon gives tidal energy to help remove pollutants and cycle nutrients. And if only a fraction of the tidal energy was conserved, it alone could provide the Earth's electrical needs. It's really amazing to think of the tidal energy that happens as the moon goes around the Earth. So it also has phases, 12 per year. And the seasons are caused by Earth's tilt on a 23.5-degree axis towards or away from the sun. So in the summer, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun and away from the sun in the winter. People and other organisms have used the stars for navigation for thousands of years. So the heavens show us the wonder of God, God's creation. Okay, now, how about the earth? You can see here this picture of the earth. You can see the earth with its magnetic field and helping to deflect the harmful radiation that comes from the sun. And so very, very grateful for this magnetic field we have. And then there are also layers of the atmosphere we're going to look at here. So consider Earth as being a spaceship. If Earth were a spaceship, it's amazing how Earth has so many properties that make it life possible on the Earth. So let's consider some of the properties of the Earth. So there is a God as shown by the Earth. So Earth has a protective magnetic field. Shields us from the harmful solar and cosmic radiation. The thermosphere is the hottest part of the layers of the Earth's atmosphere. It's the part of the atmosphere that absorbs the dangerous UV radiation from the sun to protect organisms on Earth. It's where you see the aurora lights. And this layer makes radio waves bounce off the ground to make it transmit farther over the Earth. So when you have shortwave radio, it bounces off the thermosphere to keep the radio and really broadcast it all around the world. And then below the thermosphere is the mesosphere. It's 37 kilometers thick and protects the Earth by burning up the daily 40 tons of meteors. So every day, 40 tons of meteor material falls to the Earth, but because of the mesosphere, it just burns it up. So it protects us from falling on our head. And that's where you see the shooting stars at night. You see those shooting stars as the meteor goes through the mesosphere, it burns up. So it also contains a 5-kilometer thick sodium layer that causes faint glow to the atmosphere. The Earth contains rocks and soils that support plant growth, purify water, give a habitat for soil organisms, and recycle nutrients and organic waste. So the Earth is incredible how it recycles. You think of sometimes a Lego bin. You make something with Lego and then you take it apart. The decomposers are in the soil. They break down the dead things and now allow the nutrients to be recycled. So it's perfect recycling system already in the Earth, and it has been operating for since the beginning of creation. The soil layer acts as a filter, blocking particulate matter, allowing filtered fresh water to return to the water table. All right, let's now look at water, because water is incredible molecule, and it really shows the handiwork of God. So there is a God as shown by the properties of water. So when we see the water, we see here ice is solid water, and the amazing property of it is it's less dense than water. So ice will always float on the surface of water. And water also has a very high melting point and boiling point compared to other similar molecules. So it enables it to stay liquid for many different temperatures. It's called the universal solvent because it's capable of dissolving so many substances. Water has a high specific heat capacity. So if you live near the water, it regulates the temperature. So if you're near the water in the summer, it's cooler because particularly you have the air comes from off a lake or water surface, and it's cooler. But in the winter, when it's really cold, it becomes milder and warmer in the winter because of the body of water. Number 5, water has capillary action, allowing water to travel from the roots to the leaves of trees easily. So we have some trees that are about 300 feet tall, or even taller, and you get the capillary action of the water just pulling it up like the xylem tissue, for instance, to transport water right to the leaves at the very high part of the tree. Water isn't life, but without liquid water, there would be no life. So God has created this incredible molecule that allows life to exist. All right. Now we're going to look at the sea. The sea is amazing in that it shows us, or the oceans, they show us the amazing properties of God. There is a God as shown by the ocean. So the oceans cover more than 70% of the Earth's surface. So the majority of life on Earth, about 94%, is aquatic. And over 70% of our planet's oxygen is produced by the ocean. It's interesting. We think of like the rainforest and those places which are very important, and we must preserve them. But most of the oxygen that we have on the Earth comes from the algae that live in the oceans. It makes up for 97% of the Earth's water supply. 3 billion people rely on fish as a main source of protein. But unfortunately, by the year 2050, due to humans, the plastic in the ocean will outweigh the fish. So it's kind of sad how human activity is causing damage to the oceans. Okay, now we're going to also look at the springs of water. Now, springs of water refers to the water table beneath our feet. And really, anywhere you go in the world, you have the water table on land. Okay, there is a God as shown by the water table. So facts about the water table. The water table is formed when rainwater and water from the other bodies of water on the surface of the earth seeps down into the soil and is stored as groundwater. This passing down of water through the soil is known as infiltration. However, of all the usable fresh water in the world, approximately 97% of it is groundwater. It may be near the Earth's surface or as deep as 9 kilometers. The depth of the water table can change, rise or fall, depending on the time of year. So during late winter and spring, when accumulated snow starts to melt and spring water is plentiful, water on the surface infiltrates into the ground and water table rises. And the opposite happens late in the summer when you've depleted the water table goes down. But in drier parts of the world where drinkable water, surface water is not available, people have survived on groundwater by making wells for thousands of years. What's really interesting is if you think of spaceship Earth, imagine a spaceship where wherever you are and you need water, you could just drill into the floor of the spaceship and there's always water. Wouldn't that be an amazing design to have water available anywhere? So if you are a human who knows how to make wells, you could access this fresh water at all times. And that's what people have been doing for thousands of years, is digging wells. Now, we also see in nature these symbiotic relationships. These show us the nature of God. So God is a God who loves relationship. And so we can see with symbiosis these relationships. When we look at these are 7 different examples here. I'm just going to read these out to you. We've got here the bees drink nectar, okay, from the flower, and the flower leaves pollen on the bee, which it eats, then transfers the pollen from plant to plant. The next one is the oxpecker helps rhinos by eating the ticks that plague the rhino. In turn, oxpeckers get a safe place to flock. and they also get a meal. Okay, the third one is the pistol shrimp builds and maintains a burrow that both animals live in, and the goby fish offers the shrimp protection from predators. The next one is, you can see, what does it look like to you? To the far right? It's a sloth. Yeah, the sloth, so the algae is on its coat. So the algae gets a home, and then the algae gives the sloth protection from camouflage. This is an interesting thing. This is a tarantula to the left there. It has the dotted humming frog is basically its pet. The tarantula has this, the frog is a pet, and what happens is the frog eats the ants, which often feast on the tarantula's eggs. So it protects the eggs of the tarantula, and the tarantula in turn gives it protection. So it's a really amazing relationship. The next one is mycorrhizal fungi. So in the soil, fungi lives in the soil, and basically because of its properties, it's able to get a lot more water than the roots of the plant. So the fungus gives the plant roots water that it gets, and in turn, the plant gives the fungus the carbohydrates that it needs to live. So incredible, the fungal relationship with plants is amazing. And the last one is Nemo. The sea anemone provides a home to the clownfish, and the clownfish emits a high-pitched sound which deters the butterfly fish which preys on the anemone. So we can see here in nature all kinds of symbiotic relationships that show us the nature of God. Okay, here, can you see if you can find some of these creatures here. This is examples of camouflage that God gives to creatures to protect them. Can anyone find, it's kind of a crazy name, but the satanic leaf-tailed gecko. Can you guys see it? See where it might be? Leaf-tailed gecko. Yeah. Do you see it there to the left? So top left is satanic leaf-tailed gecko. It's kind of a weird name.
Oh yeah, the top left, right?
Okay, yeah. Can you see the scorpion fish?
On the right?
Yes. Which one?
Top right?
Almost. It's kind of hard to see. If it's the middle right one there.
Middle right?
Okay, did anyone see the sand crab?
Top right?
Yeah, top right, good. Can anyone see the...
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Okay, we've got here the brown Pacific octopus. Kind of a small picture there. Yeah, the small, yep. And what's really cool is, oh, I don't think I have it here, but the Arctic hare. Let's see the Arctic hare. And can anyone see the flounder? Bottom right, good. Okay, so God has like made these creatures with all kinds of ability to camouflage themselves. And other examples would also include mimicry, which mimics sometimes a predator so that it protects the organism from not getting eaten. Okay, now this is one thing that Jesus said in his teaching. He said, look at the ravens. They do not plant or harvest or store food in barns, for God feeds them. And you are far more valuable to him than any birds. So Jesus said this. Now, the question I want to ask is, how are ravens fed by God? How are ravens fed by God? Okay, I'm just going to answer that. The food web. So God provides the nutrients for the raven through the food web. So when you look at the food web, it's actually amazing provision by God for all the creatures that live in a certain ecosystem. Okay, now Jesus also said, consider the lilies of the field. Okay. He said this, how they grow, they neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. So the question is, how are lilies clothed by God? The answer? Photosynthesis. So God uses this process to clothe the lilies, and God uses the food web to feed the ravens. All these are part of God's incredible design of nature to provide for the producers and also for the consumers. Okay, the next thing I want to look at is the DNA molecule. The DNA molecule is an incredibly complex molecule that is in each one of our bodies. So DNA is only made up of 4 letters called nucleotides, and 3 of them in a row are called a codon. So I think of nucleotide almost like a stroke of a pen. So when you do A, it's stroke, stroke, stroke to make a letter. So nucleotides are like a stroke of a pen. And DNA is packaged into chromosomes like books. So it basically makes like an encyclopedia. So every creature has its own encyclopedia of like in their genome, made up of books, and the books would be represented by the chromosomes. So chromosomes are like books, and the whole encyclopedia is called a genome. Does that make sense? So the neat thing is, this is what Bill Gates said, DNA is like a computer program, but far, far more advanced than any software ever created. So he is a software producer, and he says, well, DNA is way more complicated than anything that I've done. And when you look at the incredible complexity of DNA, you know that it has to be more than just happening by random chance. All right, so let's look at this, the things that we know. DNA is the genetic code that gives instruction for the appearance of every living organism. It is the blueprint for every living thing that has ever existed. But does it have an author, or is it randomly formed? So right now, there's no way evolutionists have said how something could form like a complex chemical like DNA. They cannot possibly account for how it came. It couldn't have just come by random chance. And the problem is even if you got DNA, you need enzymes and proteins to be able to read the DNA. And then you also need RNA to be able to read the DNA as well. So you need basically RNA, you need proteins and enzymes, and you need DNA all coming at one time to work to make a cell live. So it's extremely unlikely that chance made all of this. Okay, conclusion. There must be a God who's made the DNA, the self-replicating system that codes for all the traits of all the organisms that have ever lived on Earth. Scientists estimate that there are currently 8.7 million different species of organisms, each with their own unique genome. Since language cannot exist without a mind to make the language that codes for meaning, then there must be a language maker and there must be a God. Now, you look at this picture, you see atheism would look at the thing on the left and say, well, yeah, that robot hand was intelligently designed, but the human hand, which is far, far, far more complex, they say, well, that developed by coincidence. It's just a series of mutations and random mistakes coded for that extremely complicated hand. I don't have enough faith to believe this, guys. I have to believe that life has been created not by coincidence, but by a creator. This is not a painting that you're seeing here. It's the most detailed image of a human cell to date obtained by radiography, nuclear magnetic resonance, and cryogenic electron microscopy. You can see here all the different parts of the cell. So you've got, maybe to the bottom, you've got the nucleus, you've got the nuclear pores, and you've got the genetic material at the bottom. As you're moving up to the left, you have a mitochondria. You can see the folds inside the mitochondria called cristae, and they're the powerhouse of the cell. They provide ATP. To the right, you see Golgi bodies. You see all this complexity in a cell. This is not actually an animation. It's actually what you see inside of a cell. This cannot just happen by random chance. Now, I want you to think for a moment. You go to see Chris Pratt and Catherine Schwarzenegger Pratt. You go to their home, okay? Just imagine for a moment, you go to their home and you spend a week at their beautiful mansion. And you enjoy their wonderful cooking prepared by the finest chefs in California. You go for a swim in their pool, go in their jacuzzi, you go to their home theater in the basement, and you enjoy a week of just living in like a Hollywood star. And at the end of 1 week, someone comes up to you and says, you know what, here's a card. Would you sign it and just say thank you to Chris and Catherine for letting you stay here for a week? In fact, you're not only staying here for a week, but they actually built this place. They built the mansion. They built everything you see here with their own hands. Would you thank them? And you say, no, I'm not going to write a card. I don't even think they exist. I don't even think that Chris and Catherine really do exist, and so I'm not going to write a thank you card. What would you think about a person like that?
Ungrateful.
Ungrateful? Yeah. You'd be like, you jerk. You enjoyed everything that they provided, and you're not even grateful just to say thank you for what you've enjoyed. And we think of sometimes how in our society we look at everything that has been given to us in creation and we just say, I don't think there is a creator. There's no creator. It really shows the ungratefulness of our hearts to deny that there's a creator, deny that we are accountable to this creator that has made us. So I want to tell you guys, I believe there is a God, and we have a purpose. He's created you. He's created me for a wonderful purpose. And one day, we are going to see God after we die. And so it's so important to make sure that you and I are in a right relationship with God through Jesus Christ. So that's all.